Hi, my name is Heather. Welcome to Strings and Threads. This is the video tutorial for the Garter Nook dishcloth or washcloth. And the reason why I call it that is because the stitch we're going to be using is the garter stitch. And if you think that's a knitting term, that's because it is. We're going to be using a technique called knooking. It is something that Thomas from Totally Fierce Crochet had introduced to me, and I'm so excited to use it and to show you. Knooking is knitting with a crochet hook. It is actual knitting. You learn actual knitting stitches, but you only have one hook to use for it. You need the crochet hook that has an eyelet on the end, because what we're going to do is we're going to attach yarn at the end of the eyelet. And I have a really long piece on mine, but I think you could probably get away with, maybe about 20 inch. Well, I think mine's about 20 inches. You might be able to get away with 10 or 15 inches, which is 10 inches is like 25.5 centimeters. If you want to go on the longer end, that would be about 51 centimeters. So make your string somewhere about that length. And the size hook that I have is a 6mm. I noticed that they don't put the hook size on the hooks, so that's kind of annoying, but I'm just keeping this wrapper that this was in so that I can put it back in the wrapper when I'm not using it and remember what size hook it is. The other thing we're going to need, obviously scissors, but cotton yarn. You want to use cotton yarn for either a dishcloth or a washcloth because it washes easily. This is a softer one. This is KC Knit and Crochet from Premium Yarn, Essential Cotton. This colorway is Joshua Tree. I just thought it was a really pretty color, so I'm going to go with that. This is the stockinette stitch that they're showing here. We're not going to do the stockinette stitch. We are going to do the garter stitch. So to get started, I'm going to do another technique that I learned from Thomas at Totally Fierce Crochet. He's a good friend of mine, and he's taught me lots of tips and tricks here. So if you don't know him, I have him listed in my description, and you can go and check him out. He always starts with an I-cord, which is genius, and you don't have to deal with chains. If you would prefer not to learn the I-cord to start, that's totally fine. You can just start with chains and do the same thing that I'm doing. But I'm going to teach you that little trick that Thomas taught me. But in order to do this, you need to have quite a significant tail because we're going to have 50 stitches to put on to the hook. And so I don't know. I gave a rough estimate of about 4 feet or 1.2 meters. Maybe that's too much, but I really do know that you need quite a big tail for that. So you're going to leave a tail and then use a slip knot. I already put my slip knot on. And then your tail should go to the left, and then the yarn that's attached to the skein should go to the right. And this makes such a clean beginning to your project. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm going to use it from now on. So you take the tail side and you move the tail to the left, and then you take the skein side and you go over to the right, and then you just pull the yarn through. You take the tail side and move it to the left. You take the skein side and move it to the right, and then you go through. That's 2. So this would be the equivalent, like 2 chains. This would be 2 stitches. You take the tail side and move it to the right. Take the skein side and move it to the left, and then you pull it through. Tail side to the right, skein side to the left, and then you pull it through. Okay, so let's continue doing this until we have 50 stitches to start with. Go ahead and pause. I have made it to 50. Hopefully you've made it to 50. See how nice that I-cord is? It is a really beautiful way to start. If you have an I-cord maker, like I have one of those too. It's the Lucid fork. You can also start it that way, but this is a nice way to start it if you don't have that available to you. So to do these stitches, we're going to be putting the stitches on the needles and then sliding them. Just like you do in knitting, you'll have all the stitches kind of open, I guess is the best way to say it. So you're going to go right into that first stitch. You already have one on your hook. If you did chains instead of the I-cord, you're going to go into the second chain from the hook. You're going to yarn over and draw up a loop. You're not going to do anything else. You're going to go into the next stitch, yarn over, and draw up a hook. And make sure you're drawing from your yarn skein side. We don't need the tail anymore. If your tail ended up being way too long, you can either trim it or, you know, just let it be. So we'll go into the next stitch and yarn over and draw up a loop. We're going to do this all the way across, and for now try to leave your stitches all on the hook. If it gets to be too much and it starts to bleed down into the string, that's fine, but just for now try to keep it close to you. So let's finish this row off camera. We'll pause here and then we'll come back for the next direction. All right, mine did end up bleeding down a little bit onto the string. In Knooking, this is considered the knit stitch. There is a purl stitch, but we will not be using the purl stitch for this tutorial. So if you're interested in the purl stitch, you can either go and visit Thomas's tutorial. I'll link his tutorial for Knooking, beginner's Knooking down below. Or you can stay tuned because I'm sure that I'll have other projects here that I'll be using Knooking with because it is so much fun. I just love it. So now you are going to take the stitches and bring them down onto the thread that you have. Just be careful that you're not getting too close to the end. I put just a small knot on mine because the yarn was fraying. The yarn that I used started to fray, but you really don't want a big knot down here because we're going to eventually be pulling this yarn out of the work once we get it on the hook again. So that would, you know, not work out well. So here we just pulled it onto the string. We're going to turn it. I have to pull mine down a little bit more. And really from here, it is very simple. I might do one more row with you after this, maybe two, but I think that once I do this row, you're gonna really see it and get the hang of it. So all we're gonna do is go into each individual. I'm still drawing from the yarn. We're not gonna draw from the tail anymore, so I'm drawing from the yarn that's attached to the skein of yarn. But you're gonna go into the loop, yarn over, and draw a loop up. Just be careful that you're not using the holding yarn or the helping yarn for that. Okay, just go into the loop and draw up a loop. Go into the loop, yarn over, draw up a loop. And I think you can just see how simple this is, and you are creating the knit stitch. So this is going to look exactly like it would in knitting. And when we make this garter stitch, it's going to be exactly how it would look in knitting. So this is a wonderful way if you're struggling with knitting, or if for some reason knitting is difficult for you due to, you know, your hands or wrists. this is a great alternative, and you can read a knitting pattern and be able to make that with this knooking hook. So this would be K. Usually the abbreviation for knit stitch would be K, and this is how you would make the knit stitch. All right, I'm going to finish this row off camera, so let's pause it here, and then we'll come back and I'll show it one more time. We'll see if we might need another one after that, but I think you'll be able to get it after this. So let's pause it. Okay, I'm down to the last 2 stitches. So let me just put that one on, and then the last loop here. And you can see how it's all on the hook. So now we're going to pull this helper yarn out from the project. You don't want to keep it in the project. So here at the end is where you can see where my helper is. I'm just going to pull it out. Let me pull this up so you can see better. Oh, my pen is in the picture. And you can see how if you had a huge knot at the end, you wouldn't be able to pull that through. I made a longer string, so I'm sorry it's taking a minute. There we go. All right, sorry that took a minute there. And now we're just going to do the same thing we just did. We're not going to be going off the hook anymore. You're always going to be putting it onto the hook and then sliding it down onto the string. And once you have it on the string, you turn, and we're just going to do the exact same thing that we just did. We're going to go into, make sure you have enough space, go into the first loop, and then draw from your yarn here, not the tail and not the helper yarn, which I'm starting to see both here. Here we go. And you're going to go into the loop, yarn over, draw up a loop. Go into the next loop, yarn over and draw up a loop. Exactly what we just did. So this is going to be all that you need to do to grow this project. We're not going to be using the purl stitch. I know I said that earlier. So this is going to be, this whole thing is going to be the knit stitch, which will give you the garter stitch look for this dishcloth towel. I'll show you one more time when I get to the end of the row what we do, and then I think you've got this. We're just going to continue to grow. You can go the length that you're interested in making it, or you can go the same length that I'm doing. I'll come back on once I've made mine the length that I'd want, and I'll give you the measurements of what mine turned out to be, and then I'll show you how to finish this. So let's pause here. When I get all of them on the hook, I'm going to come back and show you again what to do at the end of the row. And then we'll just continue doing that until it's the length you want. All right, I'm down to my last last 4 stitches of this row. So just going into the loop, yarning over and drawing it through. Here's the last one. And we are not going to be keeping it on the hook anymore. Now what we want to do first is pull out the helper yarn, or the string that you have attached to the knooking hook. I'm going to pull that out. Okay, great. Now you can see that garter stitch starting up already on both sides. And then I've had a feeling that happened. There we go. I lost the last stitch. Got it. We're going to just slide the project onto the string again. This happens every time. We're not going to do it from the hook anymore. And then you turn your work and start back up. Continue growing rows. And again, I know I said it already. I think I was just trying to look for something to talk about, but as long as you want it to be, or if you want to see how long I've done it, I'll tell you when we come back how long I did it, and then I will show you how to finish this at the end. So build your rows and then come back for the ending. All right, I have it way up high here, but this is my final dishcloth that I wanted to, like a dishcloth towel. I'm thinking of using this to dry dishes. So the final measurements for mine, and again, you can make yours any size you want. You don't have to follow my sizing. It's about 16 inches, which is 41 centimeters. So that's how big mine is. I'm going to bring this down and I'm going to show you how to finish it. We're going to finish it. So I still have my stitches on the hook part. So I'm going to slide the stitches down like we have been onto the helper yarn, helper string, whatever you're using. And we're going to come around to the other side. And we're going to start like we've been starting. Draw up a loop. Draw up another loop and then go through both. Draw up a loop and then go through both. So we started by just drawing up a loop, and then we put another loop on and go through both. Put another loop on. See, I have one here now. So I'm going to go through the next loop and go through both. Gives it a really nice edging along the top. Go through both. You can see that really nice edging. I'll do a few more with you, and then we can pause and finish it off camera, because I don't know that you want to watch me do this with 50 stitches. I'll do 2 more. Bring up a loop through both. Drop a loop and go through. All right, let's finish the row and then come back. All right, I made it all the way across, so now I'm going to cut a little bit of a tail, not a huge one, you know, maybe right about like that. And then I'm going to bring that through the last loop. Off camera, I'm going to weave this end in. I just take a needle and weave it in and out of a few stitches to get it stuck in there. And here's how the top looks. It's really pretty, but we don't want to leave the string from the knooking needle in there, so I'm just going to pull that out. And then I have the whole tail. So thanks for watching this. If you liked it, I encourage you to subscribe and like this video, and take a look at the other tutorials I have and see if there's anything else that interests you. Thank you for watching.